This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What's up, roadies? We're back with a double feature today. We've had some issues with our scheduling. Me personally, because of I'm a truck driver and I'm not always on the same schedule. But we're back for you guys again. It's Truck and Kulz. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Do not apologize for your schedule. You have a job that is very important to the America, the country, to get their goods.
Let me clue in the roadies what's going on with me and my schedule. Right now, I am in Columbus, Ohio, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, OHIO. And, we're just getting it over here. I'm doing graveyard shifts, third shift overnight, delivering Napa Auto Parts. So that's fun. Great over here. So that's what's going on with me. Kulz, what's going on with you? What's happening in your life? Any updates? Anything noteworthy, or do you just want to get right into it?
No, but I would like to make note of the first big UT football game while being a resident of Austin, Texas. We go into Tuscaloosa, get the dub. So I will be taking partial credit. I'll be taking partial credit of the Texas Longhorns national championship this year.
Wow.
So now I'm going to the game on Saturday. I'm super excited. I've never been actually to a UT football game. So I'm going awesome. On Saturday against Wyoming. Super excited about it.
Yeah, I'd like to. I was looking over some things, and I might be coming down the week they play Oklahoma. Come down to Austin to visit.
That is the game's in Dallas.
Well, I mean, that's fine.
The Red River Shootout's in Dallas every year. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. It's at the Cotton Bowl every year.
Oh, okay. I might make the trek down to Austin pretty soon. I was just trying to line it up with some good games.
Yeah, well, that game we would have to go to Dallas for it. We'll talk about that off air, but yeah, that game's in Dallas every year.
While we're in Dallas,
Red River Shootout.
Might as well go to a Cowboys game as well, huh?
Yeah, we'll see if the schedule works out that way.
Yeah. All right. So we are here talking fantasy hitchhikers. This is our waiver wire episode. The hitchhikers. We're going to give you players to pick them up.
Pick 'em up.
We're working on some quality sound drops, and we'll get those.
Definitely got to get that one.
Yeah, we're gonna get some fun stuff going. But this is an important episode. We're talking about players that you should pick up, players that you should consider dropping, people to keep an eye on for the rest of the season. So, there's really no other explanation. If you play in fantasy football, you know the waiver wire. Just players to add that aren't added. So let's kick it off. But before we do so, Mike, buckle up, motherfucker.
Buckle up.
All right. So getting right into it, quarterbacks.
Yeah, Hitch Hikers. Yeah, I do want to preface that this was a difficult episode to conceptualize. Ryan is doing a good job of organizing it in my brain. For me, I don't think I add value unless you show me your roster, show me like exactly what the situation is. I think there's so many factors that determines both on your roster, like how your league values different positions. There's a million different factors. So for me to just kind of blast out a list, it was difficult for my brain to like figure that out. But anyways, so if you have questions, reach out directly to either of us on Twitter. Any way that you can, I think that's the most effective way. But yeah, it's early on in the season, waivers matter a lot because certain roles start to get defined and you have the opportunity to add some pretty serious non-injury dependent pieces on your team. Like, of course, Gus Edwards and Justice Hills are two people we'll talk about, and there's going to always be like week following injury upside type ads, and those are the obvious ones. Well, how you can add some serious depth and serious pieces on your roster is through these first few weeks, surprise rolls, things like that. So definitely important, and you could thank the Fantasy Trucker for getting this together, because I was just about ready to say, fuck waivers, fuck this bullshit, I don't know how to do this, blah, blah, blah.
It's the truth of it is, it's a case-by-case situation. We're going to try to give you the broad picture of it, but it really does differ with everybody's situation. So we're going to do the best we can, and
pick 'em up.
Exactly. But yes, like Mike said, if you guys have any individual situations you want us to shine a light on, please hit us up directly, email the show, hit us up on Twitter. A lot of different forms of engagement that we offer. So make sure you bring us some questions. So anyway, let's kick it off. Quarterbacks. We saw quite a bit of quarterbacks play well that aren't very heavily rostered. Everybody we talk about that's worth being picked up is rostered in less than 50% of leagues. So if you're in a deep league, obviously a lot of these players that we mentioned aren't going to be available. But if you're in a shallow league, definitely take a look and see if they are. But the first couple questions I have, there's 5 quarterbacks that I want to name, and it's Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and Mac Jones. All of these players came out and played well. Jared Goff went ahead and beat Chiefs in Kansas City. Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, biggest upset of the week. Stafford played well without Cooper Kupp. You got Brock Purdy on one of the best teams in the NFL. Jordan Love, I don't want to say many good things about him, but he looked good, And then Mac Jones, they threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, Mike, out of those 5 quarterbacks, are any of those on the list you're willing to pick up if you're not happy with your quarterback room, or if you're in a super flex?
Well, super flex is an entirely different conversation, because they're probably not on the waiver wire.
Very true.
They're definitely not on the waiver wire. But so here's like the perfect example of like how this is difficult for me. But I would like to preface it by saying I wouldn't pick up any of these quarterbacks. They're all still streamable in my mind. Like most leagues, most one quarterback leagues, till this point, most leagues are one quarterback. New leagues are starting to be super flex, definitely. Yeah. But for the most part, one quarterback leagues is still kind of the way to go. And most of those leagues don't roster 2 quarterbacks. There's a very wide range of quarterbacks on the waiver wire. So that being said, I'm in a few of these leagues, for example, and I tried to target top tier quarterbacks. If that's the case, I'm not picking up any of these guys. However, there is a case where if I wasn't getting those top tier guys, I was getting Daniel Jones. So if you're in a position where Daniel Jones had a bad week 1, I'm personally not freaking out about that yet. I'm riding him week 2. He's playing at Arizona. So, I think that'll definitely be a big bounce back game for him. But so like maybe I could see a scenario where you have a spot on your roster to where maybe someone got injured and you're putting them on IR, and you have a roster spot available, and you'd feel more comfortable rostering another quarterback. I'm gonna give my rankings for you here, but for the most part, those 5 quarterbacks that you named, they're all in a same tier. Stafford, Goff, Love, to me, are for sure in a same tier, and you could probably throw Purdy in there as well, just because of his situation and how good it is. Mac Jones, not necessarily in that tier. I still think he's in a tier below them. But, I mean, if you're going to have 4 or 5 of these guys on your waivers, one of them doesn't stand out to me to where it's like, this guy's got a legit shot to be top 10, you want him. So I would use that roster spot elsewhere to add depth at those other positions that you've seen. It's going to be, I mean, it's just always so many injuries, so you need depth. But yeah, if you have 4 or 5 of these guys that are in the same tier, why would you just like add one to sit on your bench? And it's going to be essentially matchup dependent on who is better than the other ones regardless. So that's the way that I look at it. For example, in my league where I have Daniel Jones, I'm not going to add any quarterback because I just don't see. I think I had Dobbins, so I will have a roster spot available, but I'm not going to add one of these guys because if Daniel Jones doesn't work in week 3 or in week 2 and he's playing one of the worst teams in the NFL and I'm worried about how his performance is, I'm going to just go and get one of these guys who has the best week 3 matchup,
Yeah.
That being said, like, let's go through our rest of the season rankings for these 3 guys or for these 5 guys. And quite frankly, I don't think mine really changed that much, but I have Stafford 1, Goff 2, Love 3, Purdy 4, and Mac Jones 5. So that's my rankings there. I think Stafford proved how good he is. He threw for 334 yards. There was no touchdowns, but he doesn't have Cooper Kupp. When he gets Cooper Kupp back, hopefully he gets Cooper Kupp back. I mean,
yeah.
If he's back week 5, I think everyone's a sigh of relief and really happy there. So, his situation is concerning, but for him to go on the road in Seattle, which has historically been a tough environment to play in, and get 334 yards and no touchdowns, no interceptions, but like with that ragtag group he's got there to be able to do that shows you his skill and his talent is still there. He seems to be healthy. So yeah, that's who I got. Who do you have on the top of that list?
Yeah, Stafford's at the top of my list. From what we saw him do against Seattle's defense, which going into the season was, decent defense. So saw him do that without Cooper Kupp. It's just very intriguing. And Stafford looked really good. So he's at the top of my list. But Jared Goff is number 2 for me as well. And then I would put Brock Purdy above Jordan Love. I hope that there's not any bias in there because of what I saw on Sunday, but I think I would rather take Brock Purdy over Jordan Love currently. And then Mac Jones is just someone to keep an eye on, putting up 24 fantasy points on a Philly defense. It's not something to just kind of look past to me. Mac Jones looked really good, but he's at the bottom of my tier right there. So that's kind of where I have them ranked. But if you're looking to pick up another quarterback, it's Stafford for us. If not Stafford, then it's Goff, and kind of keep it there. But definitely keep an eye on Jordan Love. Definitely keep an eye on Brock Purdy. Also Mac Jones, and even Sam Howell down there too. Keep an eye on them moving forward. But I think that's about it for me for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't pick up anyone, but if you felt like you had to, it'd be Stafford. I mean,
yeah.
I think you're going to be in a situation where week 5 comes around and Stafford will probably still be on the waiver wire. So, if you wanted to wait, see how your roster shakes out, and then add him when Cooper Kupp's coming back, that may make more sense. But
yeah. All right. Well, how about running backs? This is going to be a deeper list. These are going to be guys that had a good week. Obviously, out of most lists, you're going to see a lot of these names. So I'm just going to go ahead and list off. I'm going to list off all of them. There's a lot of names here, but these are names that need to be mentioned. So Jaylen Warren, Tyler Algier, Kenneth Gainwell, Tyjae Spears, Kyron Williams, Zach Moss, Roshan Johnson, Chuba Hubbard, Joshua Kelly, Ty Chandler, Jerome Ford, Tank Bigsby, Devon Achane, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill. And then as a caveat, Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette. So these are all running backs that I just listed. There's a lot of them there. They're all rostered in less than 50% of leagues. Some more than others. But Mike, I'm curious who's at the top of all the running backs I just listed there. who are you most interested in for the rest of the season? Give me like maybe let's give me your top 5 in these rest of the season.
Yeah, my top 5 is Algier, Gainwell, Kyron Williams, Jalen Warren, Roshan, and then Spears is number 6. Algier, like, I think that should give you some confidence on him having a pretty serious role for the Falcons.
Definitely.
A lot of that was game script and how they were in control late in the game. I don't expect that to really be the case a lot for the Falcons. I do have them winning the division. I do think the Saints look pretty good also, but I have the Falcons winning the division. But in order to do so, they're going to have to win a lot of close games. So, game script did matter there, but I do think you can be confident in Algier having a serious role. And like, you may question, especially how I felt about Gainwell up until this point. Why do I have Algier ahead of Gainwell? Well, I think Gainwell, I don't think his role is as solidified, to be honest. Like, yeah, the week 1 usage would tell a different story, but
yeah,
I don't necessarily think that story is written. I think that, like, I just think that he was going to get first shot at being the starting quarterback or starting running back, which he did, and he did a good job. But that doesn't mean that the Eagles aren't going to look to continue to improve their offense throughout the year. You have a quick turnaround on Thursday night playing at home against the Vikings. Well, guess who didn't take many hits on Sunday, just 4 days prior to this next start? DeAndre Swift. So I think DeAndre Swift is going to have, honestly, higher usage than Gainwell in game 2. Okay. So, I mean, to me, that's just logical. Like, that's going to be a no-brainer. You're going to hear fucking overreacting dumbasses that are going to be like, oh my God, is it DeAndre Swift's backfield? It's like, no, have you ever fucking watched football before? Like, every game is different. The backfield can look different. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to see that all season long with the Chiefs of, they're going to ride hot hands. You're going to have 3 guys involved. Like, it's not Gainwell's backfield, and he's not the surefire number 1, the surefire, he's not going to be a bell cow. You're going to see Swift get his touches, and I think you're going to see it game 2 in against Minnesota. So that's why I have Gainwell at number 2 behind Algier. I don't know what's your I guess give me your like top 2, and then we'll work down from there.
Yeah, it's my top 2 are Algier and Gainwell, but I think I have Gainwell higher than Algier, just for the reason that very similar to the Detroit situation, I see Bijan's role going to increase.
Detroit?
Very similar to the Detroit situation. So like what you saw with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, how everyone's saying Jahmyr Gibbs' role is going to increase as the games go on. You're going to see more carries. You're going to see more usage. His snap percentage is going to increase as the year goes on. And I think it's going to be the same for Bijan. I think what you saw.
Those are different, though. Like, Bijan was a starting running back. Like, you can't compare Algier to – I guess you can kind of in a role, but those are in totally 2 different places, right?
Yes,
like, Bijan's a starting running back.
All I'm comparing is the limited role that both Gibbs
running a rookie running back.
Yes, the rookie running back situation to me is comparable with their usage on their team and their offensive snaps. I think both situations are going to increase. So that's what I'm comparing, and I think that Algier's role is going to decrease as a result of that as the games go on. So that's my only reasoning and I think Gainwell, as I agree that story is not fully written. I think DeAndre Swift's role is going to increase as the games go on, but I do think that Gainwell is the number 1 running back, and I think that's going to produce a lot more points for my team rather than Algier on a season-long basis. So I'm putting Gainwell at my number 1 ahead of Algier, and that's kind of my reasoning why.
Yeah, so I think that I know. I guess I can kind of see what you mean by the Detroit, comparing Detroit and Atlanta. However, I think it's flipped. I think the role and what the skill set that Algier and Montgomery bring is very similar. However, I think Montgomery's a starting running back and probably remains the starting running back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know that you're going to ever see Gibbs be even close to what a Bijan will be in Atlanta. Like, here you're seeing it flip to where Bijan's starting running back, but he still is a rookie, so they're not going to just say, here's 30 touches a game. Yeah. However, like, I do foresee that in Bijan's future, probably sooner than later. Whereas Gibbs, like, I don't know if we'll see that really this year. I think Montgomery's going to be their running back, you know? Like, Campbell likes to have a starting running back that fucking pounds the ball.
Exactly.
That being said, like, I do see what you mean by those. That's like the role. It's just going to be so. Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I
agree, but kind of not.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you said. How you think Bijan, that role is going to increase at a faster pace.
But he's already the starter, right?
Yes.
There's the huge difference. Is like Gibbs got what, like 10? I forget what touches. He almost had like 10 or 11 touches, something small.
Yeah.
But you know, and Bijan like surprisingly had less. That being said, the other one was a football game, the entire game, literally till the end.
Yeah.
Bijan didn't really play in the fourth quarter. So from like, Bijan would have ended that game if it was a tight game with, you know, 25 touches, whatever. I think he had 10 rushes and 6 catches. So 16, yeah. That would have been 22, mid-20s had that game been closer. But Falcons were, you know, in the lead in the fourth, and that's when Algier kind of pounded the ball through. So, yeah, game script matters, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, I agree with Gainwell. He's the running back one. You know, that said, like, that will potentially change, right? It's like if Swift comes out and just shows that he is at a different level talent-wise, then you're going to see that production split start to, you know, that being said, like, I saw you had, you know, you also wrote out running backs to drop. So these are guys that are on benches. Like, I think Rashad Penny's clearly the odd man out, and he's droppable in my mind.
Yeah.
So here on your potential players to drop list, you have Zeke, Penny, McKinnon, Mitchell, Swift. Penny is the only one I'm dropping in that situation. McKinnon is probably like
fringe
eventually. Like, he clearly still has that receiving role. And we'll have to see that play out for another couple games. But like week 4, if McKinnon doesn't have any production, he's on the chopping block for me.
But on the verse side of that, I mean, as bad as the Chiefs receivers were, you could see maybe they lean on McKinnon more.
Yeah, that's why it's going to take 4 weeks to see how that offense actually kind of ends up, ends up shaking out. But I don't know that with Clyde there. I'm not buying any shares of McKinnon. Even if you're buying low, I'm not buying low on McKinnon right now.
I just want to help people kind of go through the realization as they look at their rosters, and they had people with these down weeks or these down games, and they're considering dropping them. So I just wanted to cover those. I
would consider picking up Algier, Gainwell, Kyron Williams, and dropping a McKinnon. Let's put it that way. I would feel totally confident doing that right now, even after one game. So yeah, that's how I have that. And then Kyron, I have him at 3. I think you may have that a little bit different, but I do think Kyron, I'm on Akers too. And I like Akers. I'm invested. I have shares in Akers, but Kyron Williams scares me because of it just looks like the Rams don't like Cam. Like he seems to be the RB 1A there, and Akers kind of the 1B. I'm probably looking to get Kyren Williams in almost. So I don't think I'm going to ever see Algier and Gainwell in the leagues that I'm in. I won't see them on the waivers much. I will see Kyren, and he's probably who I'm targeting to try to get in every single league, and probably comfortable burning waivers on him too. So I think it sucks for Akers, but I think Kyren Williams, gun to my head, I think he's the guy there to own.
Yeah. I think it's going to be messy throughout the majority of the season with those two. It's just going to be a split backfield timeshare with those two. And
but if he has the ability, if they're giving him the opportunity to run away with that job, and like he could run away with that job. You know what I mean? So that's what's scary to me about it is, like you're saying, it's not going to be the Gainwell bell cow like we thought, right? And now it's not even looking like he's the number one running back there. It's probably a 1A, 1B situation. And I think given that, if Kyren has success, he is the more likely bell cow at this point, which is
I feel that
crazy to even say.
Yeah. I just, in my mind and the way I see it, in the immediate, in the next 5 weeks, I don't see him really taking that job away from. I think it'll take longer.
A lot.
I think it'll take.
If you said 3, I'd agree with you more. 5's a lot, man. 5's a lot of weeks. Like teams will know who they are by weeks, 5 more games. So week 6 is over. Heading into weeks 6, 7, teams know who they are. Rams will know if they're playing for a playoff spot. Like if they get cut back and they're 4-2, then they're gonna plant their flag on someone. You know what I mean? Like that's within the next couple of weeks, they're definitely gonna be feeling everything out and seeing who's. But that's decision time. So I don't know though. That'll be interesting. There's gonna be a lot to play out there, and like we talked about preseason, that is going to be a running back room that's going to have fantasy production tied to it because of what their offense looks like and where they need to make up production. So definitely take a stance on if you're in or out and aggressively pursue it would be my advice, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it with Kyren.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get where you're coming from. I just think it'll take a little bit longer to develop, but I could be wrong in that sense. So,
but you're not going to have that time, is my point. Like Kyren Williams is being picked up right now. He's not going to be there in 5 weeks.
No, I understand that.
That decision.
I'm just talking about him. I'm talking about him running away with the job. I just pick him up because he's going to be utilized in this offense. He looks like he's the goal line back. He looks like he's going to be the 1A to Cam Akers 1B, but I just think it'll be more than a few weeks before he actually runs away with the job. That's all I was saying.
He may never run away with the job, but your only opportunity to roster him is right now.
Yeah, so take the chance. Pick him up.
Yeah, if you believe in him, then pick
him up. So I personally have Jaylen Warren over Kyren. I think Jaylen Warren, obviously the Steelers didn't do well, but they went against one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. So I'd kind of just not really, look at that too much, but they're going to utilize Jaylen Warren a lot in that offense. And I think I'd rather have him over Kyren and Roschon. And, but yeah, Roschon Johnson looked really good for the Bears. I mean, he was kind of the one bright spot fantasy wise. And I think it's just a matter of time before they realize that he's the best running back. And he trucked somebody, man. He fucking laid the hit stick on someone. That was nice.
How are we going to clip those so we can do a trucked segment?
Oh yeah, we should.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, we don't have the NFL rights to replay games, but we can do it until we get clips.
Insist. We're not big enough to not do that.
Yeah, I'll compile some clips.
How do you do that though? You can get them on YouTube, clip them, and we can do a truck
screen share. Yeah,
dude, we got to do that. All right, which episode do we do that on? Like maybe a quick truck segment on green light, red light, green light.
I was going to even say
reactions. It would have to be
reactions. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a quick turn. So yeah, we'll do trucked. Conklin had a nice one. So I love that. The truck segment will be must watch TV.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
You just got trucked.
You just got trucked.
Yeah.
All right. So in deeper formats, though, I mean, we talked about some of the main ones that most of the outlets are going to be talking about, but in a deeper setting, man, Joshua Kelly looked really good, heavily utilized in this Chargers offense, and the Chargers are going to be really good. So he's someone to keep an eye on. Zach Moss, I know Mike feels that Zach Moss is going to come into this Colts offense and be the number one running back.
Who did you have at 5?
At 5, I had Kyron. So it goes for me. It goes Gainwell, Algier. I'm sorry, Spears. No, Kane. Oh, here we go. It's Gainwell, Algier, Warren, Kyron, and Roshan. Roshan's 5, and then I have Tyjae Spears at 6. Okay. As far as my running backs to pick up here. Spears, it was great. He had a lot of snaps, but didn't do much with them. So I'd like to see that change in his production from the opportunity that he's getting. But definitely intriguing.
Yeah, I have Roshan over Spears because I think Roshan was clearly the best back for Chicago, or at least like brought them the most. He was the biggest spark plug.
Yeah,
he brought the most energy to that offense late in the game when everyone was pretty much depressed at that point. The boos had been out for at least a quarter already, but he did show to be a pretty bright spot. So, I think his role is only going to increase. I could see him eventually being a bell cow there.
Yeah.
Not maybe this season or certainly not until way later, but he's the full package. Clearly the best running back on the team. So I have him over Spears because of that. I also think, obviously you have King Henry, but he was their clear third down back. And I just think the Titans are going to have a really bad year. So that scares me, but he's a great talent, and you could expect him to definitely be someone to pick up. But yeah, go into the deeper guys, because I think that's where a lot of these, at least a lot of the leagues I'm in, that's kind of where more of the decisions come in.
Yeah, so kind of in the more rostered, deeper side of things, I know Tank Bigsby is only 27% owned. Yeah, he didn't have that great of a role, but he's definitely someone to keep an eye out because the Jags are going to be good, and Tank will have a role as the season progresses. So didn't have a stellar week 1, but someone to definitely keep an eye on your waivers.
Well, yeah, so to twist your words a little bit, I think he does, I think that is his role. I think that's what his role is always expected to be. It's just people thought he was going to be way better, which he wasn't. He punched in the touchdown, but he was 7 for 13. If you're going to tell me 7, from what everyone was saying preseason, goal line back 7 to 10 carries is probably what Tank's role is, right? And is going to be. I just don't think he was very good. So that role is going to remain, I imagine, right? They're not going to just decrease it right away. It was just everyone thought Tank is this hype. He was the most fucking hyped player in preseason. So they thought 7 to 10 carries. Holy shit, he's going to get 60 to 70 yards, and he's going to punch in all those those goal line touchdowns, and he's going to slowly take away the backfield from ETN. And so his role is his role, and he just wasn't very good. So ETN was awesome. So to me, that's exactly what we had been saying and had thought is this is ETN's backfield. You're all fucking crazy just because Tank Bigsby's, looking great. Doesn't mean he's going to, to me, it was his role. That's the role that we expected to see. It was just everyone thought he was going to be some amazing running back with that role. I don't think it changes. It's ETN's backfield. He looked outstanding. To me, it was pretty clear cut. So I don't know. That's how I feel about Tank.
Yeah, I just think he's worth keeping an eye on.
He's going to be touchdown dependent running back.
Yeah.
All season long.
Yeah. Yeah. If you own ETN and Bigsby's on the waivers, he's definitely a great handcuff to have. But yeah, you're right. He has 7 to 10 carries, goal line work, touchdown dependent. That's kind of where he's at, but definitely keep an eye on him. Devon A-Chain is someone to keep an eye on. He's only 25% rostered. No, he didn't really come out and play well, but he's a really fast running back on a really good offense. Like I think there's going to be a role there later on.
Touches will increase. Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on him as the weeks progress. Definitely don't need to go after him week 1. Now Joshua Kelly, Chuba Hubbard, Jerome Ford, Ty Chandler, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt. Like, where do you see any value in those names I just mentioned? What do you see in those?
Yeah, so now we're talking about like deeper leagues. So I'm not touching Fournette or Hunt. I just don't believe wasting a roster spot on someone who's not on an NFL team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people may think otherwise and take risk there. I just can't imagine. There's no one on my teams where I would drop for either of them. So maybe like if you didn't have a great draft and I don't know, show me your rosters, because if you have someone on your team that you would drop for Hunt and Fournette, then you need to listen more next year or just draft straight from our rankings, because you shouldn't have anyone so bad that you're going to get 2 guys who are free agents on your roster.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, though, there's teams right now with the Ravens. The Ravens are very likely to go out and get someone. Are they going to go the rest of the season with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill? Like, that's one of the big questions after week 1. And then the Colts, like, are they going to ride it out with Deion Jackson, Evan Hull, and Zach Moss? Like, as soon as Fournette or Kareem get signed to either the Colts or the Ravens, like, do they just catapult to the top of this list?
Yeah, but like I'm not taking that. I'm not dropping an asset for what I think
potential
could be an asset. And in reality, that role is not going to be as good as you think it's going to be. So, you know what I mean?
These are questions people are asking themselves.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's not. I wasn't saying you specifically. I'm saying you as in fantasy owner. Like, you're going to think that this role for Fournette or Hunt is going to, they're so like, they're not going to be that good. They're going to be an outside 30 running back. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not worth, you're taking on risk. You're taking on risk that like there's zero value currently. You're taking on risk and the reward is really not even going to be worth what you're probably thinking in your head. So
yeah,
for me though, we're working into deep league targets, and my surefire number 1 is going to be Kyren Williams. We already talked about him. I look at Joshua Kelly as someone who has week 2 serious value. So if you're looking for a short-term answer, Josh Kelly is probably going to be the starting running back for the Chargers, because I think that Eckler, from what we've heard early on, is that Eckler's not practicing this week, which means I'm probably taking the risk that means he's not going to play. And it's early in the season, so why would you put him in a re-injury risk, a high re-injury risk situation? You probably won't. So I'm going to think Josh Kelly is the starting running back for the Chargers, and if he is, that's probably a top 15 role. He has a good shot at a top 15, maybe top 10 week. So I would roster him if you need a short-term fix. It looks like he had a little bit of a role, and the Chargers have been searching for that. Like, they thought it was going to be Spiller, and it wasn't. So if Kelly continues to perform well, then he's going to have some value. Maybe some standalone value, especially in games that they have the lead. So
let me ask you a quick question.
Kelly?
Hypothetically speaking, if Austin Eckler right now, this very moment, was ruled out for week 2, how far does Josh Kelly move up on the first 5 guys we talked about? Are you taking him over any of those guys?
No. That's where it depends on need. It depends, like, if you're planning on starting one of those guys that we named, then like you're probably not in a very good spot. For example, like, I'm in a situation where I was hammering wide receiver. I have insane receivers, but I had Dobbins as one of my running backs, and my RB2 is now becoming Antonio Gibson, and I don't really have much lot of season value or depth at running back, but I have so much at wide receiver, so I have to either start hounding people for trades or I have to add someone that I see here, and that's why I'm attracted to Kyren Williams, because not only is he a quote-unquote short-term fix, but he seems to have a good role long-term. And these other guys have current roles right now. Kelly could have a very big role short-term, week 2, and maybe something later on. We don't know. But if I was scrambling and just needed to fill a starting roster spot for to feel confident that I'm going to, get a quick win and don't want to start 0-2, then Josh Kelly becomes important or becomes a higher priority because that's what my need is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have 2 starting running backs, there's not a lot of Josh Kelly value for you. That being said, if I'm looking at staring down the barrel of Antonio Gibson as my starting running back, that becomes a higher priority for me because, he's top 15 this week. I don't need to go into that more, but I look at it. And then Zach Moss, like, he's probably number 3 on that deep league list for me because I do think he's going to be the Colts running back. I don't think the Colts are going to go out and get Hunt. They already had that opportunity. To me, they're going to give Moss a shot. He's going to either do well or not. And I assume he's going to do well, at least better than Hull and better than Deion Jackson. So you don't have a great starting running back, but you have a starting running back. So that's what you're left with. Moss,
starting running backs are valuable no matter what.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's all right. Well, I do feel comfortable.
Ravens. We got to talk about the Ravens.
Oh yeah, Gus Edwards and Justice Hill.
I don't know. I don't love the idea of burning a waiver on either of the guys. I think maybe if they're there after waivers expire, grab one. I don't know. Like, historically, the Ravens have just kind of ran with it. They have Melvin Gordon, who I think is absolute dog shit. So he's not a legitimate option, but like, they've ran with Edwards Hill in the past and it's been okay, but it's not great. If I am the Ravens, which I'm not, but if I am, I look for a Hunt or a Fournette, bring him in, see who looks better, sign that guy, and then go with him, probably a higher share of Edwards, and then, Hill a little bit. But to me, it's Edwards over Hill. Edwards was banged up during preseason, so that's why I think you saw more Hill than Edwards in week 1. They weren't really expecting to use him, but now that there's a need there, then they're going to start to ramp him up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So for me, it's Edwards over Hill, and then bring in both Hunt, bring in Fournette, work them out and see who looks better and try to sign that guy. But, until we hear that, I'm not adding either of those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I lean Hill over Edwards, but I'm probably not wasting a priority on them or much fab at all.
Yeah, and I mean Hill, like that's an easy thing to say, right? Like Hill got what did he even end up with though? Like I think it was not like he had like 7 carries for 8 yards.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
like yeah, he was the guy when Dobbins went down, but he didn't look that good. And in my mind, I could be wrong. I don't know what the Ravens thought process is, but in my mind, Dobbins was the running back one. They didn't expect him to fucking tear his Achilles. And because Gus Edwards, the Gus bus, was, banged up in the preseason, he wasn't fully ramped up, but they weren't expecting him to come in and have to be, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Dobbins was the running back, and then they were going to stagger him with Hill. So does that change? I mean, Edwards did have Edwards had 8. Yeah, he had 8 carries, so he wasn't necessarily not used. It was just Hill was their
goal line back.
He was 8 for 9. Like, it's not. I don't know. I'm going Gus over Hill. I think when it comes to like what is Dobbins' role, where is that going to go to? It's going to be more Gus than Hill, but they're going to both be involved, and it looks like Hill's the goal line back. So Hill becomes, in my mind, touchdown dependent, and Gus Edwards probably has the role
majority.
The majority of the role there until they figure something out. So
yeah. All right, well, let's jump to wide receivers. Got some big names on the board here. I'm just going to start them off. You got Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Zay Jones, Romeo Doubs, Rashid Shaheed, Jaden Reed, Kendrick Bourne. What out of those names? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names. I think that's a great place to start. Where do you list them? As a caveat, I got Puka at number 1.
I have Romeo Doubs at number 1.
Okay.
Puka. I mean, I love both of these guys. I was high on them in the preseason, so I'm happy they're both. We're talking about both of them this highly. I have Doubs, Puka, Shaheed, Zay Jones, Kendrick Bourne as my top 5.
Okay.
Doubs, to me, seems like he has a very good chemistry with Love. We saw it a little bit in preseason. You're going to get Watson back, but Doubs was also banged up and was on a snap count against the Bears.
Yeah.
The Bears are all just so fucking shitty that he was able to get 2 touchdowns on a snap count. The Bears are so bad at football that he was on a snap count and got 2 touchdowns. Yeah. No, but for real, I like Doubs, and I think Love has a very good chemistry with him. So for me, like long-term value this season, I just value Doubs a little bit higher than Puka because let's face it, if and when Kupp comes back, his role changes. He is in the Kupp role right now, so that's why you saw 15 targets, 10 catches. That being said, like, is Kupp coming back week 5? I wouldn't necessarily say that's a sure thing. So maybe if that's the case, then Puka is by and large number 1 here. So is that a risk that you're willing to take? Probably, yeah. I would honestly say yes. But I could probably talk myself into going Puka 1 and Doubs 2 right now.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Just from like, what is your confidence in Kupp being back and healthy? If it is, week 5, then Doubs is probably the right pick. But if it's not, and I don't know, that scares me. I think either way, Puka will win the wide receiver 2 job by that. I think he already probably has. So those are by far the top 2 for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm Puka over Doubs, but those are both high on the list. Puka, obviously, just from what we saw, I think he deserves to be number 1. Doubs, I think that usage looks different once Christian Watson comes back in the picture.
But he was on a snap count, so like, yeah, it's gonna look different, but it's not gonna look crazy different. Like I think Doubs is like a very good wide receiver too, especially because he's on an offense that like is young and roles are being defined. And, I just think I think Dobbs is going to be a really good wide receiver and someone that you want to own in fantasy football.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go for it.
I like Zay Jones. I mean, the wide receiver 2 in Jacksonville is going to be valuable, and it looks like that's Zay Jones. I mean, yeah, it's possible next week you can come out and Christian Kirk can turn things around, but it looks like on the 2 wide receiver sets, it's Zay and Calvin Ridley. So Zay Jones is going to have some value for the rest of the season, I think. So he's definitely in contention. If you lose out on Puka, you lose out on Dobbs, take your chance on Zay Jones. He could be a spot start for you during those bye weeks.
Yeah, I have Shaheed at 3 and then 4 Zay. I'm just not like, can Zay really be the wide receiver 2 for the Jags?
I don't know. I mean, Zay was good last year. Zay was good in his
I know, and
he is 3
good.
role.
He is good, and I like him for sure. But like,
I know I don't necessarily fully believe it yet. I still am holding out hope that Christian Kirk is going to turn it around next week.
I just can't believe that. I can't believe that. End of story. So that's why I have Shaheed. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, the ceiling is way higher for Zay than Shaheed, given that he, in some crazy fucked up world, could be wide receiver 2 there. If he is, then he's a 1,000-yard receiver. So
yeah.
Definitely has the higher ceiling. I could probably be flipped between those 2 right now, but I don't know. I don't think Zay Jones is the wide receiver 2. Certainly looked that way. Literally, Kirk was not starting. He didn't get 1 snap in a 2 wide receiver set, so it certainly looks that way. But I'm just not accepting that yet. I can't. Like, I need to see it again and again. So that's where I'm at there. I really don't even think we need to spend a lot of time on receivers like we did running back. I think running back is the very important one because there's such high stakes. And it's such a position where like that volatility is where you get your main advantages.
Yeah.
You're not really getting a game changer in your wide receiver room. Dobbs, Puka, I think they are. Shaheed, Zay, you could make an argument, but probably not. You probably have better receivers. Bourne, like, if you think Mac Jones is going to throw for 300 yards every week, then yes. Jaden Reed, like, he's going to have a good, solid slot role, and he's going to be consistent. But, like, how deep is your league to where you're going to ever start Jaden Reed?
Yeah. Now, what about let's play a little game on would you drop any of these players? Tyler Boyd. Would you drop Tyler Boyd? People are going to be considering it.
No, but I don't have him rostered, so like.
Well, in this case, picture this person. The next name I name is going to be your worst player.
I would drop Boyd for Dobbs and Puka, probably.
Okay,
but there
we go.
That's about it.
Okay, Kadarius Toney.
No, I wouldn't drop Toney or Sky yet. I would drop Gallup, Rondale Moore for Dobbs and Puka.
Okay.
Mooney, would you? I wouldn't. Well, for Dobbs, I would drop almost all of those guys that you have listed. Sorry, we should work through it the way that you were going to.
Yeah, I'm just going to name off names, and you say yes or no. Are you willing to drop them if they were the worst wide receiver on your team? And you needed
Puka though.
Like, well, not even that. Like, say, like in your perfect example of how your teams are looking, how you went wide receiver deep, and you need help at running back. So say these are the worst wide receivers on your team, and you need to add more depth at running back. You're not dropping Kadarius Toney?
No.
Okay, so Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, you're not dropping.
Sorry for just hammering through that. Let's go back to yes, let's do that. It's way better for both radio and just I just like, it's so hard for my brain to do this. All right, so Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. So would you drop Tyler Boyd for a running back if you needed help?
God, this is so hard to do. Yes.
You would drop Tyler Boyd because this is a list of players
he wouldn't be on my team in the first place. So yes, I would drop him.
And you're saying we already covered Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. You're going to hold on to them just in case.
Yes, I would have held on to both of them.
Okay. Michael Gallup.
He wouldn't be on my roster regardless.
Okay.
So yes.
All right. But just for the sake of the game, these guys are on your roster and they are the worst wide receiver on your roster. Okay. Yeah, Rondell Moore.
I would drop him.
Okay. And also Darnell Mooney.
I mean, yeah, like dropping all these guys.
Juju Smith-Schuster, one of the highest rostered players on this list. Would you drop Juju Smith-Schuster for any of the wide receivers we named or running backs we talked about earlier?
Yeah, and he would never be on my roster, like I've been saying about like if Juju Smith-Schuster was on my red light list, he was on my do not draft list, he was on my dog shit overrated wide receiver who doesn't have knees and really hasn't done anything since he was on the Steelers list. He fucking sucks. So yes, I would drop him.
Okay. Treylon Burks.
For Dobbs or Puka? Yeah, I would drop him. I mean, I just think Tannehill's. I think the Titans are going to be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would drop him for Romeo Dobbs or Puka. But I think I was drafting I'm pretty sure I was drafting those guys before pretty much everyone you named.
Yes. I'm just
besides Sky and Tony.
This list is for the roadies out there that either had made bad decisions in drafts.
A single thing we said. Period.
Let me talk for a second, okay? Stop talking over me. This list is for the roadies out there that either had a bad draft, made wrong decisions, didn't listen to us completely, but they took Juju because they panicked in a second at their draft. They took Treylon Burks because they didn't realize what they were doing. These players are heavily rostered. And people need to see these names and consider dropping them on their teams because I agree with you. I would drop everybody on this list. I would drop Kadarius Toney. I would drop Sky Moore. For these players that we just talked about, the wide receivers and running backs are going to hold more value in the immediate and in the long term. So I would drop Tyler Boyd. I would drop Kadarius Toney, Michael Gallup, Rondell Moore. As hard as it hurts me to drop Darnell Mooney, he's obviously
the ones to talk about are Sky Moore and Tony because those you actually spent draft capital on, and I guess Juju if you're that stupid.
Juju and Treylon Burks. Those Juju, Burks, Sky Moore, Treylon Burks. Those three are the highest rostered players on this list.
Yeah, but like Sky Moore, you probably got, 8th, 9th round. Probably same with Juju, and Tony was right around there. So. I wouldn't drop them yet. Like Tony, first of all, I definitely wouldn't drop Tony. He was horrible. He lost them the game. He had drops. He just looked so bad. And quite frankly, like I think he's a piece of shit and has a horrible attitude. But
don't drop him.
Well,
he's a piece of shit, just terrible attitude, had a terrible week one.
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't because what did you hear from Mahomes afterwards? You heard him say, I trust that Kadarius Toney will make those plays and we're going to be able to go to him in those situations. And I trust what Mahomes says. So I think, his shot, his opportunity is not over here. So if he redeems himself, then yes, he's going to be worth that where you drafted him still. I just think he's kind of like a Chase Claypool piece of shit human being. So would I bet on him to succeed there? Probably not. But I think there's no the opportunity doesn't change for Tony and Moore. They're going to still receive that opportunity because they don't have really any other options. You know what I mean? So until they strike out completely, and they have to be like, all right, we need to go look to get a Mike Evans, look other places. That opportunity still exists for those two. So until it doesn't, then I don't think you cut bait.
Yeah, absolutely. So. All right, so I think that covers the wide receivers, players to drop, players to pick up. Let's go on to tight ends, man. Tight ends week 1 was rough. Pick them up. Tight ends were rough week 1. No Kelsey, no Andrews. Waller was questionable until game time. If you wasted or not wasted, but if you picked a tight end high, you kind of had to pivot. So hopefully you made the right decision. Hopefully you didn't struggle too much there like I did. How about on this list of tight ends, Chig, Okonkwo, Chingosium, Okonkwozium. Zach Ertz, man. Zach Ertz with 10 targets, Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, Hayden Hurst, Logan Thomas, Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, and after Greg Dulcich got hurt, Adam Troutman was active in that offense. So out of those names, who are you looking at if you need tight end help and you drafted someone like Cole Kmet, so to speak?
So to me, it's no surprise here on this list. Hayden Hurst was someone I was targeting pretty heavily. And I think he's who I have number 1 on this list. I think Hayden Hurst is going to be Bryce Young's favorite target. Someone he counts on, so he's going to have a big role in that offense. So I think I'd look at him. And then I think Hunter Henry, that's someone who in the past has already proven to be Mac's favorite target. So he would be number 2. But for the most part, I mean, this is still tight ends. This is all streamable for me. That being said, there's a little bit more value because the range of outcomes with tight ends is always so wide. Like pretty much every year you're going to get guys drafted, they're 20 tight end 25 ADP and they're in the top 10. So for me, guys I would be looking to pick up is Hurst, Henry, Laporta, Juwan Johnson, and then at 5, Logan Thomas. Musgrave at 6, but I honestly think he's going to lose trust of Love because he just didn't look good running routes. He's just he's got a lot to figure out still. But Hunter Henry, I told you that. Laporta looks awesome. They targeted him and he looked really good with those targets. So I'm high on Laporta. Those 3 would probably be the 3 that I would go out and get if you were in a bad spot. Juwan and Logan, I don't know if I would be sold to cut bait on someone I drafted to them yet, but I think they're both good, and I think you're going to hear a lot of Logan Thomas this year, a lot of Juwan Johnson. So that's where I'm at tight end.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hayden Hurst is my top tight end, but my number 2 is Laporta, and then I would go out and get Logan Thomas. I think he's just always kind of that steady target. So I do think Washington as a whole sucks, but that offense is still going to be putting up points, and Thomas is going to be heavily targeted. So I'm
biased. Where do you have Henry? Because you're biased against him.
I'm not. It's not that I'm biased against him.
Yes, you are.
I'm not. I'm not believing that he's going to be a usable tight end on a weekly basis. So
except he was his favorite target 2 years ago.
Yeah,
in his best season in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not biased. You're not stubborn.
No, not at all. Not one bit, Mike.
Okay,
not one bit. No, I'm
right.
just. I'm just.
What about Chig?
Give me a couple more weeks.
Yeah, well, we'll give you a couple weeks. We'll revisit. What about Chig and what the?
I don't know. Why
was everyone so high on Quosium and
I don't know, man. I just I don't know. I don't want Chig on my team. Tannehill looked garbage. That's just it's hard to
What do the Titans do? Are they just gonna ship it in, or they're gonna
randomly win games that you don't expect them to win.
But like at quarterback, what are they going to do?
Oh, what are they going to do? A quarterback? I don't know, because I don't think they got the backup in the room. Like, I don't think Malik Willis or fucking.
Do you go to Levis eventually?
Huh? Levis? No, I don't think so. Ride it out with Tannehill. He's your best chance, unless you want to just completely send it in and punt on the whole season. Then sure, go with Will Levis and let him go out there and flail around out there on the field.
Craziness.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about does it for the fantasy Hitch Hikers. Everybody we named, pick them up.
Pick them up.
But yeah, other than that, everybody buckle up, stay tuned, and we appreciate you for listening.